If you look at all of the history of life on the planet, you come to the inevitable conclusion that the social conquest of Earth over the long run has belonged to the cooperators. Ants, termites, bees, and people. You have to reimagine the future. But in order to do that, you have to be dealing with people who have open minds.
I'm Bill Emmett, I'm a journalist, and now I'm on my way to Zurich for the first of the 4 Swiss Re Open Minds forums around the world. So the dialogue that we are now going to start is about aspects of the future that touch us all, that affect us all, and most of all, that we can do something about.
Our environment will change at least 100 times faster than it did so over the last 50 million years.
By the year 2050, there's going to be 9 billion people on the planet.
Who feeds the world?
Agriculture is causing climate change.
As we grow older and live longer, are we going to live healthier? Are we going to live happier?
We have every reason to be optimistic about the future, but there is a but. And the but is we have to do something.
Being a mathematician, I had the idea when I was 20 that the world could be solved by formulas. And then slowly but surely I realized that it's a little bit more complex. It brought me to, let's say, move from an abstract view of the world to a more realistic one, and to try to develop the science of the possible, finding solutions, which sometimes is a challenge for a mathematician.
As a reinsurer, we're dealing with risk all the time. We look at the risk of the present time, and we look at the risk of the future, because we have to be prepared for it. So it makes perfectly good sense for us to look at things that may happen 5, 10, 20, 50 years from now.
Climate change is happening. We can see it every day.
Who's going to take care for us to explain the things coming to affect us? We hear that there's a climate change, but we don't know nothing what they mean.
Climate change is shifting the way freshwater supplies happen in all parts of the world, which means that tomorrow we need to have even local planners being much more connected. So you must be prepared that, for example, what was an extreme event 10 years back might be a normal event in the next 10 to 20 years.
One of the big questions I continue to ask myself, especially after this disaster, at the end of the day, is it worth staying here, knowing that this type of hurricanes and climate, the way it's changing, is it going to keep happening?
What do you do with your house? You have to rebuild, you just can't walk away. But it's only things, it's just things. And we're all okay, and that's the most important thing.
Are the small incremental changes enough? Do we need to do more, be radical?
If you harm the earth, then the earth isn't going to be nice for future generations and things.
We have to look strategically about where we build. One of the interesting things about Sandy in Manhattan is that, as you may know, Lower Manhattan was progressively filled in. And the zone that was in greatest danger in Lower Manhattan was, in fact, the land that was artificially created.
Scientists and engineers already know how to build homes that are resilient. So we know how to do it. The question is, will we do it? Because the sticky problem, of course, is the cost. Who pays for it?
It's very difficult for somebody who has to make an action today to think about the consequence of his action in several years. So you clearly have to give an advantage to each person today of why he has to change. And this is why the fight against climate change has to be profitable today for the generation of today.
We do need very strong global political leadership. This is a global problem. So even if you have a really good political leadership in one country, climate change doesn't know anything about boundaries and borders.
I think a key question that we have in all of these regional days is going to be, who is responsible for creating the 2050 that we want? Is it somebody else? Is it some government? Or is it you and me?
In the past 150 years, we have suffered several wars. We have been afflicted by a series of crises, most of them forgotten. And know what? We are still here. We had to adapt to these changes.
Nowadays, we don't know what we are eating actually. So you pick the food from the supermarket, you really don't know what is in this package.
We need to increase food production by a staggering 50% by 2050 just to meet rising food demands.
If it's impossible to feed 9 billion people with sustainable agriculture, what the hell are you going to feed them with? Unsustainable agriculture? That's again just lacking common sense.
我相信咱们都有同感，菜买回来，我先要拿水泡，1个小时，所有的水果我当然肯定是全部削皮吃的。
Is the problem of getting food to people? Is it a problem of production or distribution? And I would say it's definitely a problem of distribution.
Are we actually recognizing the people who are into the agricultural sector, and are we actually giving them proper dignity?
I think we've become maybe a little bit spoiled. If an apple's got a brown spot, we throw it away. So we've taken all of this efficiency that's been built in and we give it for granted.
There is recognition that we have to be mindful of the challenge of the youth in agriculture and in food production. They are getting away from the rural areas. We need to keep them there or contain their movement or their migration. How can that be done?
If you got the food, you're the mother of the house, you get everything. To me, I believe in that because I'm born doing this. And I'm still doing it. And this, what I'm doing, I'm proud of myself.
The largest untapped potential is really in the small-scale rain-fed farming. The reason for that is simple. 80% of the land area in the world is under rain-fed agriculture. And that's often where we have the largest opportunities to really introduce sustainable practices at the local scale. So the future is really about combining top science with very, very sustainable practices.
We're in a defensive mindset, and we shouldn't be. And I think that Europe and America has an enormous strengths, just the way we let ideas have sex, that ideas could get together and create something bigger than themselves.
The future is there to be made. There's a fighting chance that I will be still alive at the age of 94 in 2050 to see the world that you have created.
How long are you going to live?
If we look at it historically, 100, 150 years ago, half of us would have died in our 40s. Now we expect to live well into our 80s. So already we have doubled our lives in the last century or so.
Will the children of yours look after you? I don't think so.
在中国呢，我们还没有达到那样的发展水平，我们已经变得很老了。
There's a general prejudice against old people
The young people don't think they're going to get old, so they don't care about the old people.
I definitely hope that there will be healthcare for me because I don't think that everyone is able to rely on their families to take care of them. For anyone who's experienced family members being ill or passing away, you know that there's a lot of costs involved with that.
We need to find ways of enabling people to live healthier lives so that actually the need for care is less.
How both rich and poor countries can learn the lessons that have already been through so that they can prepare for this aging population.
We can implement age-friendly designs for workplace environments to tap into the huge stores of human capital embodied in older workers.
I finally did a PhD in archaeology when I was 60.
You can start a new life, have a new body, start a new company.
I recently married also, so it's like it's ageless, you know, life is to be lived at all ages.
You need to find good ways of combining the expertise, the knowledge, and the experience of people that have been around for a while with the energy, the drive, maybe the willingness to succeed, and everything that the younger people bring. But I think if you have a team that's set up of different generations, you can get much further than you could if you just have people from one generation.
People now know that innovation is the future and we're going to need it to change the future because we're going to have all these problems. But if us kids tackle them now, then we won't have these problems in the future.
China represents many of the biggest problems that the world faces, but also a huge willingness to change. And that is what I think China may teach us, that we need to be willing to change.
未来的在20周年中呢，中国可能还有3亿人要进城，进城的过程中呢，就会带来大量的能源消耗。那城市的如何搭建啊，这个跟未来的能源消耗是非常相关的。
Kann man auch mit viel weniger Strom leben?
It's a change in habit rather than a change in technology. So if we get out of our cars, if we walk, if we take the subway, then we don't need all that oil.
In energy, nothing happens quickly. It's very capital intensive. We have to be very realistic about that a rapid change is 2 decades.
The innovations are already here today, in startups, in universities, in labs.
How do we use the technology of biology to make our lives richer and fuller and better?
And there is a divide between people thinking it's the free market that can do it alone, and other people, they say it's all about taxation and subsidies. My wish would be that we work towards achieving a kind of facts-based consensus, okay?
There is going to be flying cars, there's going to be someone out there that will imagine something and will create it.
Big business can be the superhighway between all these innovative ideas, this pioneering practice that's out there, and scaling up. And so big business needs to think of itself as a scaler of this innovation.
In life, we have to drop ballast. It is safety, certitudes, habits, paradigms, all these things that keep us prisoner of what we are. Freedom is when you are able to think absolutely everything without limit.
I think humans can change, but I don't know if they were willing to. I hope they will.
The biggest thing that we can learn is something at the center of the Open Minds Forum idea, which is our connection. The old ideas that there is West and there is East have to be got rid of, We are all connected. We are a one world.
Pluralism has also entered our individuals. We are citizens, we are professionals, we are wealth carriers. In all those roles, we can do something.
To me, it seems that if we can really unlock the full potential of human beings around the world by engaging in a respectful dialogue, who knows what we could accomplish.